Amadeus makes the experience of travel better for everyone everywhere by inspiring innovation, partnerships, and responsibility to people, places, and planet. Our technology powers the travel and tourism industry, inspiring more open ways of working, more connected ways of thinking, centered around the traveler. Our open platform connects the global travel and hospitality ecosystem, from startups to big industry players and governments too. Together, redesigning the travel of tomorrow. Amadeus, it's how travel works. Visit us to know more, amadeus.com.
Hello and welcome to the Skift India Podcast. I'm Peden, your host, and joining me today is Mayur Sontakke, the founder of NomadGao, a co-living and co-working space for digital nomads. With Mayur, we would be delving into the landscape of remote work in India and the rising trend of digital nomads. As remote work gains ground, there is a subgroup of professionals that are taking it a step further, enter the digital nomads. They're individuals who are leveraging technology not just to work from home, but to work from anywhere, while exploring diverse landscapes of a particular destination. Welcome, Mayur. A pleasure to have you on the podcast.
Thanks, Peden. It's great to be on Skift India podcast. Uh, Thank you for
Thank you.
inviting me. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mayur. Mayur, before we speak about digital nomads and remote work in India, I wanted you to talk a little bit about yourself because you have been a financial analyst before. What made you switch from being a financial analyst to building something like NomadGao?
Yeah, that's a long, interesting story. So I grew up in a modest family in a small town. Nature was never too far. But then by default, we were expected to move to a bigger city just for career, for the sake of career, leaving the nature, the friends, the family behind. Uh, I thought that's how it was supposed to be. Uh, so I moved to a big city, had my corporate career for a few years, and in 2014 I got a remote job for an American startup, and that really changed my life. Uh, the same year, I went through a divorce. Um, so I was lonely, and then I did not have any commitment. So I thought, why not fulfill my travel dreams and go out, go out, meet interesting people from all around the world, explore the beautiful world that I had only seen in the second-hand travel magazines that I bought when I was a kid. And that's how I started my journey as a digital nomad, managing, building remote teams, and traveling while doing that, exploring uh, different landscape, cultures, people, food, um, and that was the beginning of the journey. I spent couple of years traveling within India and Southeast Asia. I realized that beyond big cities, there were hardly any places which had the infrastructure for productive remote work and communities uh, you know for keeping you engaged and meeting like-minded people. Uh, so back in 2017, I sort of started a passion project called Remote Explorers. The idea was to get people to explore India while working remotely, because back then, back in 2017, there were hardly any Indian digital nomads. So the focus was mostly on foreign digital nomads who wanted to come to India, explore India, but had a lot of anxieties, questions about the internet, about the community that they'll hang out with, about safety, about culture shock. So we got a bunch of people from uh, t- six different countries together, uh, and spent a month exploring the very place I'm sitting in. We had our first retreat in McLeodganj. Uh, and that's how all of that started. It was still a passion project. I still had my remote job, and I was trying to build this community. While running the retreats, I realized that uh, running retreats builds community, but the hotels where we were running those retreats at were not equipped with co-working space or a great internet. So it was just like running a circus. Spend a month, uh, put a pop-up co-working space. After a month, dismantle it, take it somewhere else. So I thought best would be to set up our own spaces, and that's how we started NomadGao in 2019, a few months before COVID.
Yeah, and interesting thing that you spoke about, Mayur. Of course, and in recent years, remote work has become more than just a response to global events. It's a movement, a shift in the way we approach our professional lives. Like at Skift, we all work remotely, and ever since I have started working remotely, I don't think I can go back to an office setup, because the kind of flexibility that remote work gives you, while you don't compromise on your work, but you also get to do traveling, exploring, and like seeing a destination. You get to do everything where you live like a local. But in India, where traditional office culture has long been a norm, even there, remote work is gaining traction. So, when choosing destinations, what are the factors that digital nomads tend to consider?
Yeah, very interesting question, because first thing that matters to most digital nomads is internet. So just today's experience, right? I
Yes,
had a power
exactly.
cut at home, and I badly needed a space to record this podcast from. Um, I checked out a couple of cafes, didn't work. Took me 30 minutes, lot of anxiety, rescheduling a couple of times to finally be here and record this podcast. Uh, while it may seem that internet is great everywhere, 5G is here and all of that, uh, I think the stable internet connection, uh, good speed, latency, ergonomic chairs, ergonomic sitting, uh, all of this matter a lot to digital nomads. Uh, Second thing I would say is community. Uh, so digital nomads are away from their home by choice. Uh, they do feel lonely. They do feel like going back home, but they are at the same time they're also enjoying exploration, enjoying new experiences. Uh, so community is what keeps them happy. uh, if they find the right community to hang out with, they tend to spend longer time at a place. So we have had experiences at NomadGao where somebody came for 3 days and ended up staying with us for a month. The longest resident we have had was for 9 months. So that's a testimony for
And
power
where
of
were they
community.
from? Where were they from? The
Um, Mostly Europe and US. In the West, loneliness is a bigger problem than in India. I'll come to the comparison between digital nomads from the West, digital nomads, Asian digital nomads a little later. But something that I have learned over last 6 years of building communities and uh, hanging out with digital nomads. Um, Third thing is weather. Weather does play a role, not as much as traditional tourists, because traditional tourists tend to go with the season. Digital nomads, because they work on the go, they are, the seasonality factor is a little smoothened when it comes to digital nomads.
Yeah,
But
and Mayur, right now with whatever is happening due to climate change, I mean, like we are seeing extreme climate. You know, there it isn't the same as before, right? So is
Right.
that also a factor that destinations need to keep in mind? Because if I'm a digital nomad and if I come to a country expecting a particular weather and I experience a different weather, then that's going to be a problem, right?
Yeah, I think that's happening world over. The climate
Mm-hmm.
change is definitely, throwing people some surprises when it comes to untimely rains and uh, you know uh, the summers in Europe were one of the harshest. The wildfires and all of that. I think, unless we take actions, serious actions on it, uh, we can't really change any of that. And that's where I feel a destination like India scores a lot over others, because most of the smaller destinations, they have similar weather pattern throughout the country, throughout the destination. But India, just owing to its sheer size and the diversity in landscapes, I think has a lot to offer to global digital nomads. um, so even when we are talking about climate change and all, uh, people have the choice to move around for a better weather within the country. uh, I hope that answers your question, Peden.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayur. Mayur, like we just touched upon it earlier in our discussion about about the electricity outage and how you were trying to look for a place to record the podcast. So, while you are trying to promote India as a popular destination for digital nomads worldwide and promote remote work within the country as well, what are some of the challenges that you've faced?
I'll answer this in two parts. First part is, promoting India as a destination to work from. Uh, Primary challenge is a preconceived notion about India in the West. Um, and then, a lot of people come to us and say we were expecting India to be very different because we heard this in the news and all of that. But it's so much more beautiful, safer, and more advanced than we thought. uh, so preconceived notion is the biggest challenge in getting global digital nomads to India. And I feel government needs to play a larger role in promoting India as a destination to work from, to break those preconceived notions. Um I think, when it comes to promoting India to global population, global digital nomads, uh, another challenge is we are in the vicinity of destinations like Thailand, Vietnam, Indonesia, which are traditionally more popular among global digital nomads. So we are basically, competing with other destinations like Chiang Mai and Bali, uh, to get the inflow. Uh, those are the uh, two main challenges I see in promoting India as a destination to work from. When it comes to promoting remote work among Indians, I think COVID has done the job a lot easier, because before COVID also we were putting efforts in promoting remote work in India, but it was much harder. Um, but now there is certain degree of acceptance. Of course there is this back to office movement and all of that, but in spite of that, we are seeing a lot of traction. Um just to put it in perspective, before COVID, 90% of our residents were foreigners, with few exceptions who were Indians. Uh, but we have seen that during COVID, 80% were Indians, and post COVID, we have seen 50% of the residents are foreigners, 50% Indians. So there is this great mix. The challenge in promoting to Indians is, because Indians are trying this for the first time, uh, or open to this lifestyle for the first time. They don't really understand difference between a co-living, co-working, co-living space which gives you the right infrastructure, the right filtered community, and let's say backpacker hostels or Airbnbs. Um, so I think these challenge will sort itself out over time when people will travel more and spend more time living this lifestyle. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. Um,
Amadeus makes the experience of travel better for everyone everywhere by inspiring innovation, partnerships, and responsibility to people, places, and planet. Our technology powers the travel and tourism industry, inspiring more open ways of working, more connected ways of thinking, centered around the traveler. Our open platform connects the global travel and hospitality ecosystem, from startups to big industry players and governments too. Together, redesigning the travel of tomorrow. Amadeus, it's how travel works. Visit us to know more, amadeus.com.
Also, Mayur, but what role do government policies play in fostering? Of course, I realize that the journey towards making remote work mainstream, this mainstream acceptance of remote work and digital nomads in India is an ongoing process. But what
right.
role do government policies play in fostering a remote friendly environment?
Right. So there are a lot of things government can do. So on the on attracting global digital nomads side, I think government can focus on PR in promoting India as a destination to work from. We have this wonderful visa which allows people to spend 180 days in a year. Although India is too big to explore in 180 days, but that's one of the nicest tourist visas out there. Uh, Government can go out in promoting India in that way. Government is already promoting India as a wellness destination and all of that. So why not promote as a digital nomad destination? So interestingly, government of Goa is putting a lot of efforts. So I worked with them in 2018, advising them on attracting global digital nomads. Then COVID happened, and those efforts sort of stopped for a while. But there has been some traction.
Yes, in
Traction
fact,
in
Goa has been pushing the government towards a digital nomad visa as well, right?
Right. So government of Goa is last year we gave them a recommendation that a digital nomad visa would help in in promoting India as a digital nomad destination. So those efforts are on. Government of Goa is also looking to open uh, seaside co-working spaces. So government can do multiple efforts on PR side and then on infrastructure side uh, by creating that infrastructure of co-working spaces or inviting people to open co-living spaces or co-working spaces in those destinations. uh, I think that itself is much bigger project. So we have had examples all over the world. Malaysia has launched a program where they are creating a network of work friendly homestays. Then there is this Bansko in Bulgaria. So the local council, local municipalities promoting Bansko as a destination, global destination to work from. Uh, so I
Yeah,
think
even UAE is doing a lot to promote digital nomads. I think there are about 46 countries that are already providing digital nomad visas, and which is very helpful as well for these countries.
right. Helpful in multiple ways, Peden. So one of the ways,
Yeah.
the direct benefit is getting more tourists, getting more foreign traveler arrivals, who come and spend longer time than traditional tourists.
Yes.
Uh, then who spend more locally, so they contribute to local economy.
Yeah, and more tourism dollars for the economy as well, right?
Right. But I think much bigger advantage of attracting digital nomads is when you attract digital nomads, you are attracting people who come with a lot of knowledge, lot of skills, lot of digital skills to be more precise. They can immensely contribute to local society, local economy. They can drive entrepreneurship. So we do these meetups, skill shares at our locations, where uh, digital nomads that we are hosting talk about their expertise, or teach something to people uh, who attend skill share programs. By doing some of these things, government can actually, you know, uh, drive literacy, drive tech literacy, drive financial literacy, create more opportunities, create more employment, uh, high quality employment. Uh, and I think overall benefit is, you want to the government need to look at the socio-economic benefit. So on the social level, people get more exposure to the world by interacting with digital nomads. And digital nomads, since they are tech savvy, working digitally, they also create a lot of content on the go, um, put it on social media. So that also helps in promoting the country, the destination, to wider audience, unlike traditional tourists who may or may not be tech savvy. So there are a lot
Uh,
of benefits.
mhm. Also, Mayur, as the work, as the line between work and leisure experiences, it continues to blur. Blended travel is something that, at Skift we've been talking a lot about, that mixes a bit of work and play. It has been a trend long before the pandemic, and based on our observations from leading executives at some of the biggest travel companies, airlines and hotel groups have also recognized the importance of blended travel, and and then there have new trends have emerged. So how when you are creating this this place, a co-living and a co-working space for remote workers, how do you seek a balance between this work and exploration?
Yeah, that's a great question again. Uh, so I feel, being a digital nomad is beautiful because it frees you from the commute to office, uh, frees you from breathing the polluted air. That leaves you a lot of time for living a balanced life. So at NomadGao, people who stay typically do yoga in the morning. In the evenings, we arrange a lot of events, activities. So we have skill shares, we have uh, board game, card game nights. Then we have karaoke's over the weekend. People, the community explores the some of the local experiences together. We have a lot of things going on. And I want to talk a little more about, you have talked about blurring boundary between work and life. So I would like to touch upon blurring boundary between digital nomads and remote workers, right? Uh, so traditionally, when remote work was not popular, uh, the overlap between remote workers and digital nomads was very high. So people who had flexibility to work remotely ended up being digital nomads. But now we have seen a trend where there are multiple uh, sub sub segments within remote work. So remote work is the larger umbrella. Digital nomads is one part of it. Uh, but what has happened is, because of hybrid remote work, which is perhaps the biggest part of remote work in general, uh, we are seeing a lot of people taking extended uh, breaks. So earlier, if they were traveling for 3 days, 4 days, or a week, now they travel to a destination for 2 weeks. And how do they manage to do that? They go to office for 3 days, work from wherever they want for 4 days, then take a week off, and then the following week they take 3 days to office on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and that frees them Monday and Tuesday. So that's how they can spend 2 weeks instead of 1 week, uh, before remote work. Uh, so these people are also realizing that work doesn't need to be a place, uh, and freeing yourself from the place, or detaching work from the place, gives people a lot of freedom in going back to their hobbies or focusing on their health. So we are seeing a lot of that at NomadGao also. Uh, we have been fortunate that we opened before COVID, so we have seen the trend changing from pure digital nomads to first time digital nomads to a sort of mixed crowd. uh, and a lot of people who are doing this for the first time in our community also get inspired by those digital nomads who are also part of the community, uh, and then you know cross the borders and take bigger steps uh, towards living a more purposeful, conscious, more balanced life. um, One of the things when it comes to balanced life, what I have realized from remote work is even teams, teams are very conscious. Companies, startups are very conscious in promoting themselves as a place to achieve work life balance. Uh, right. So earlier, if they gave perks like uh, ping pong table in the office, now some of the companies are giving workation bonuses, uh, or some of them are doing extended retreats. So right now we are hosting a 20-day retreat for a 15 people global remote team. So they are there, they work all through the day. They chat over bonfire, they play music over bonfires, and then over the weekend they want to go on treks and stuff. Um, so we are seeing that happening now. So instead of companies giving cash bonuses, they want to bring people together, have more extended time together. uh, Unlike the 3-day company offsite that used to happen, where uh, it's not deep enough, it's not engaging enough. Now we are seeing teams really bonding better together because of you know uh, remote work, and because of more informal sort of retreats.
Mhm. Very interesting things that we've come to know from you, Mayur. Thank you for joining us on this, exploration of digital nomads and remote work in India. Of course, we've learned a lot from this interaction. And as the world becomes increasingly interconnected, I think the rise of digital nomads offers a compelling alternative to traditional work routines. Anyone can successfully work and travel by embracing these remote work opportunities. Thank you very much, Mayur, for joining us today.
Thanks, Peden. Pleasure being here on this podcast.
Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone, for listening in. If you've enjoyed today's episode, don't forget to subscribe and share your thoughts. Thank you.
This has been the Skift India Travel Podcast. Thank you for listening.